This is the luncheon edition of Triple N News for Friday, November 4th. In the headlines, locally, debug found guilty. Sports, Siobhan John Brown named Offensive Player of the Year. Regionally, FAO working to eradicate hunger in Caribbean. Internationally, ceasefire in city of Aleppo. The luncheon edition of news is brought to you through the compliments of Flow. We have the details when we return.
I'll take a small.
XL, that's the size for me.
Flow's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $18.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flow's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
Welcome back. With the details, I am Kenlin Peters. The Grenadian businessman Fintan de Burgh of the Cobb Bank fiasco was Thursday found guilty in the No. 2 High Court on several fraudulent charges. Brandon Wells has this report.
Fintan de Burgh has been remanded to Richmond Hill Prison to return for sentencing on December 15th. On count 1, de Burgh, being director of Capital Bank International Limited, was found guilty of falsely applying for his own benefit of $975,119.97, contrary to Proceeds of Crime Act, with reference to the revised laws of Grenada. The charges date back to far as 2005. The Cap Bank fiasco stemmed out of complaints by depositors of Capital Bank with issues regarding the redemption of funds. Following the investigation by the Financial Intelligence Unit, de Burgh was arrested in relation to this and other offences relative to bank funds and a breach of trust. De Burgh was also found guilty of falsifying the minutes of the meeting of the Board of Directors of Cap Bank, which according to the charge was done willfully and with intent to defraud. De Burgh is to appear in court for sentencing on December 15th.
In other news, a bus conductor, Vincent St. David, has been charged with 3 counts of sexual intercourse with a minor. Investigators laid the charges against 19-year-old Clem Osoma following a report of a missing teenager. Osoma appeared at the Grenville's Magistrate Court on Wednesday and was granted bail in the sum of $15,000 with 2 sureties. As part of his bail conditions, he has to report to the St. David's police station weekly, should not have any contact with the minor, and is not permitted to travel without the consent of the court. In other local news, questions have been raised about the number of pregnant women on the island thus far contracting the Zika virus and persons having the Guillain-Barré syndrome. The Zika virus is known to cause microcephaly, a birth defect where babies' heads is smaller than expected when compared to babies of the same sex and age. Health Minister Nicholas Steele had this to say on the matter.
To date, we have had 10 recorded cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome. Of those 10, there were 2 deaths. And in terms of pregnant women affected by Zika, I don't have a definitive number because it's a bit different with respect to that, because as you know, only 20% of individuals affected show any symptoms. So we may have pregnant women out there that have not shown any symptoms of Zika but have had Zika. And as well as there are certain individuals who may not have known that they were pregnant or may not have come forward to say that they exhibited the symptoms of Zika.
Minister Steele noted the ministry continues to monitor known cases of pregnant women with the virus.
We continue those who have reported to us, those individuals that we know are pregnant, that are within our system, and that we know have exhibited symptoms of Zika. We continue to monitor their pregnancy and give complete follow-up and support, regular ultrasound, additional ultrasound, blood tests, additional blood tests. We in fact have partnered with SGU and Mount Sinai Hospital independently, 2 separate independent monitoring systems for pregnant women with respect to the Zika epidemic that passed through here.
According to the health minister, the cases so far are favorable.
So far, yes. I have no negative reports or so. but it's a day-by-day monitoring, and we breathe a sigh of relief on every birth, and we continue to monitor all pregnant women within our system for any effects of Zika. And it's independent monitoring. No.
Finally, in the local news, Fernandez Steel's annual art sale and exhibition is on again at the Alliance Française at the Villa in St. George. The opening will take place on Thursday, 1st December and continue on weekends from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. until the following Friday, 9th December. For 3 years, Fernandez Steel has held exhibitions, part proceeds of which are donated to the Dorothy Hopkins Center for the Disabled. Fernandez Steel is a well-known Caribbean artist, having held a number of solo exhibitions in Jamaica, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada. She has also participated in a number of group shows in Jamaica, Grenada and Hawaii. Her work has been collected by some prestigious institutions such as the University of the West Indies in Jamaica and by private enterprises such as Hubbard's and Sandals La Source in Grenada. Other collections by private individuals span from Jamaica, Italy, France, England, Ireland, the United States, Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia and Grenada. The present exhibition will comprise some of her old works and some new ones. That ends the local segment of the Luncheon edition for Triple N News for Friday. Sporting developments next.
The NFL is back, and only Flow brings you every game all Sunday afternoon with NFL Sunday Ticket. Whether following your favorite team or fantasy player, choose the games you want to watch every Sunday afternoon with Flow. Visit us in store or call 1-800-804-2994 to sign up for NFL Sunday Ticket. It's all NFL, all Sunday afternoon with Flow.
We kick off with football. The Great Midwest Atlantic Conference released its awards for the 2016 season on Thursday, November 3rd, in which 3 members of the Alderson Brothers men's soccer team were honored. One of those players is Grenadian international Siobhan John Brown, who was named Offensive Player of the Year after a stellar first season with the Balters. John Brown recorded 22 points this season, including 8 goals, 5 of which were game winners. Also, Grenadian international defender Alec Andel was selected to the first team along with John Brown. Also in football, coaches in Antigua and Barbuda pursuing UEFA C and D license will be getting much needed assistance from UEFA A coach Adrian Callisto in an initiative welcomed by the Antigua and Barbuda Association's president Everton Gonzalez. Costello, former coach of Hull City, is on a visit to Antigua and will be working in conjunction with the Soccer Academy and the Antigua and Barbuda Football Association in helping coaches who are receiving D license practical exams on November 8th. Come next week, he will also be working with C license candidates. Costello said he is looking forward to interacting with the local teams, their coaches and administrators. In cricket, Shane Dowich and Miguel Cummins have been named to a West Indies 15-man squad for the upcoming one-day international tri-series in Zimbabwe. Cummins comes in for youngster Azari Joseph and Dowich replaces Marlon Samuels in the squad that will be captained by Jason Holder. The tour, which is carried for November 12th to 30th, will feature 7 ODIs. The West Indies will open the series against Sri Lanka on Wednesday, November 16th. The full squad reads Solomon Ben, Carlos Brathwaite, Craig Brathwaite, Dwayne Bravo, Jonathan Carter, Johnson Charles, Miguel Cummins, Shane Dowich, Shannon Gabriel, Jason Holder, Shai Hope, Evan Lewis, Sunil Narain, Ashley Nuss, and Ravman Powell. The West Indies then play Zimbabwe on November 19th, Sri Lanka on November 23rd, and Zimbabwe on November 25th. The final is set for November 27th. In more cricket, West Indies opener Craig Brathwaite has moved into the top 20 of the ICC player rankings for Test batsmen for the first time after playing a stellar role in his team's 5-wicket win over Pakistan in the third and final test in Sharjah that ended on Thursday. Brathwaite, who became the first opener to remain unbeaten in both innings of a test match with scores of 142 and 60, has gained 13 places to reach a career best 19th rank while helping the West Indies pull one back in the series that Pakistan won 2-1. He says it was a tough challenge for him.
It feels very good. It's something I always wanted to do, even from first class cricket, coming to play for West Indies, and I'm happy to have done it. For me, it wasn't easy. Obviously, Pakistan have very good bowlers, so it was tough work. You had to be mentally strong. Obviously, had some tough periods you had to fight through, and any day, really thankful. Thank God that I got through the innings. Obviously, the guys very happy, and we know what we did to win. So I think it's key, going forward. We continue to work towards that goal, and put in the necessary stuff you have to do to get wins, because we know we got to win, so we know what we have to do, we know what we did, and it's important to stay positive and look to get more wins in the future.
In tennis, Andy Murray and Novak Djokovic continues to battle over the number 1 place ranking after both won their third round match in the Paris Masters. Murray can overtake the 12-time Grand Slam champion if Djokovic fails to reach the final. Djokovic will meet Croatia's Martin Cilic in the quarterfinals on Friday before Murray faces 7th seed Thomas Bajaj of the Czech Republic. In more news, South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal on Friday told state prosecutors and the defense to argue their cases over the 6-year sentence for mother handed to Paralympic Olympic gold medalist Oscar Pistorius in open court. Pistorius was sentenced to 6 years in prison in July after being found guilty of murdering his girlfriend River Steenkamp on appeal last December in a case that has attracted worldwide interest. Legal experts had expected the Supreme Court of Appeal to issue a ruling on whether prosecutors have a right to challenge the sentence, but instead said both parties should first argue their case in court. The court did not set a date for the appeal hearing. State prosecutors said the sentence was too lenient as the jail term was less than the half of 15 years they sought. The athlete originally received a 5-year sentence for a manslaughter conviction that was upgraded to murder on appeal. That ends the sporting developments. The international segment of news will follow this word from our sponsors.
I'll take a small.
XL, that's the size for me.
Flow's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $18.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flow's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
Shaquila McDonald with the international developments. The joint leaders of Turkey's pro-Kurdish opposition party People's Democracy have been arrested along with at least 9 other MPs. Salahattin Demirtas and Figen Yüksekdag are accused of spreading propaganda for militants fighting the Turkish state. Hours after Mr. Demirtas was arrested in Diyarbakir, a car bomb killed 8 people and injured more than 100. Militants have been fighting for years to achieve independence for the Kurds, Turkey's biggest ethnic minority. Turkey remains under a state of emergency that was imposed after a failed military coup in July. The emergency allows President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his cabinet to bypass parliament when drafting new laws and to restrict or suspend rights and freedoms. Russian and Syrian government forces have begun a 10-hour ceasefire in the city of Aleppo to allow rebels and civilians to leave the besieged areas. More in this report.
Russia says all rebels will be able to safely leave East Aleppo with their weapons from 6 to 1600 GMT on Friday. President Vladimir Putin says he wants to avoid what he called senseless bloodshed. But once that window closes, it's expected Russian and Syrian jets will resume bombing the already battered city. With various rebel groups trying to take West Aleppo out of government control, heavy mortar fire was reported in West Aleppo on Thursday. Past humanitarian exits like the one happening on Friday have failed. During pauses in fighting in the past, both government and rebel forces have accused each other of preventing people from leaving.
Iraqi government forces have battled their way into another suburb of Mosul, the northern city held for more than 2 years by the Islamic State group. Troops broke through IS defenses and reached the eastern district of Saddam, which they say is now 90% under their control. Special forces have been fighting the jihadists in the streets and alleys. Government and Turkish forces began a US-backed offensive on October 17th to drive out the jihadists. They have already retaken dozens of villages and towns in the surrounding area. The UN has expressed concern for the safety of the estimated 1.5 million civilians living in Mosul amid reports of mass killings and people being rounded up for use as human shields by IS. Calls are growing in the UK for an early general election after a landmark ruling on Brexit. The High Court ruled on Thursday that Parliament must vote on the triggering of Article 50, which will begin Brexit negotiations. UKIP leader Nigel Farage says Prime Minister Theresa May should call an election to secure a mandate for the process.
To try and get a big working majority to make sure, to quote her, that Brexit means Brexit. The problem she has is that, of course, the previous government put in place the Fixed Term Parliaments Act. She would need to get some Labour MPs to help her as well.
Theresa May is talking with the European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker on Friday to tell him her Brexit timetable remains in place. She said she will trigger Article 50 at the end of March 2017. Former Attorney General Dominic Grieve MP says that shouldn't be altered by the High Court ruling.
There's nothing in this decision that prevents Brexit going ahead. It's quite clear if you go around Parliament that whilst there are many parliamentarians who regret the referendum result, there is respect for the referendum result.
The U.S. economy created 161,000 jobs in October, official figure shows, which was close to analysts' expectations. Job creation for the month of August and September was revised up to 176,000 and 191,000 respectively. The unemployment rate edged lower to 4.9%, according to the latest report from the U.S. Department of Labor. The healthy labor market will support the view held by many analysts that the U.S. Federal Reserve will raise interest rates next month. Continued growth in wages will also bolster arguments for a rate rise. Average hourly earnings were up to 10 cents or 0.4% in October, a slight acceleration from September's 0.3% increase. Polls remain narrow ahead of Tuesday's election.
For the majority of polls conducted by the major American newspapers, Hillary Clinton maintains a 2 to 3 point lead, but the contrarian is the Los Angeles Times, which puts Donald Trump ahead by 5 points. With a poll that was most accurate in 2012 by Investors Business Daily, has Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump tied, which is why, with just days to go, the candidates are adding campaign stops.
And that ends the international developments.
The regional segment will follow. A regional representative for the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, Raul Benitez, says his organization is working towards eradicating hunger in 11 Caribbean islands by 2020. Benitez says less than 180,000 people need to achieve food security in order to reduce the prevalence of undernourishment to below 5% and attain this task. The Food and Agriculture Organization's focus is on the eradication of hunger, food insecurity and malnutrition, the elimination of poverty and the promotion of economic and social progress for all, and the sustainable management of natural resources for the benefit of present and future generations. According to an FAO document titled The Plan for Food and Nutrition Security and the Eradication of Hunger 2025, Latin America is the sub-region that has made the most progress, achieving both the Millennium Development Goals target to reduce the prevalence of undernourishment from 14.4% in 1990 to 1992 to 5.1% in 2012 to 2014, as well as the more ambitious target set by the World Food Summit of 1996, where Latin America also reduced the number of people suffering from hunger from 60.3 million to 29.5 million in the same period. Benitez indicated that the 2020 deadline would not be easy to meet, but that it would be a significant achievement once it was achieved. St. Vincent and the Grenadines will, as of January 1st, make it illegal to catch or kill sea turtles or disturb their nests. Maxine Antoine tells us more.
Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves announced the planned change in the law on Tuesday. Under the current law, sea turtles are protected species in St. Vincent, with the open season running from August 1st to February 28th. But during the open season, it is illegal to catch, sell, buy, or have in one's possession undersized turtles or their shells. It is always illegal to interfere with the eggs and nest of sea turtles, and anyone found violating these regulations is liable to a fine of up to 5,000 EC. According to Gonzalez, the government has been working with SVG Preservation Fund to upgrade the facility that was funded by Japan under a US $4.6 million grant secured in 2014. Gonzalez also addressed the issue of whaling as humpback whales and pilot whales are being killed. Gonzalez said that a project for turtle watching was already being devised. Maxine Antoine, Triple N News.
In the Bahamas, the Perry Christie administration will be borrowing US $28.3 million from the Caribbean Development Bank in an effort to improve the access and quality of water across the country. Minister of State in the Finance Ministry, Michael Halkitis, in tabling the resolution for the Water and Sewage Water Supply Improvement Project in Parliament on Wednesday, said the government will get a 5-day holiday and will not have to start repaying the loan until 5 years after the date of execution. The payments will be made in 48 quarterly installments. Halkitis went on to defend the government's need to borrow the money, telling parliamentarians that water is essential. The scope of the project involves pre-investment studies, the acquisition of lands in certain islands for the execution of the project, a public health and education awareness program, as well as upgrades of the supply and distribution systems. In Jamaica, campaigning for local government elections is to move into high gear with November 3rd's announcement of the date for local polls. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie announced that election day is Monday, November 28th, while nomination day is next Friday, November 11th. Mr. McKenzie says there would be no more delay and the time was now right.
Therefore, Prime Minister, I am advising you, advising the country, that nomination day will be November the 11th. Friday, November the 11th. On the road to prosperity, the pathway of caring, the pathway of sharing, the pathway of giving will come on Monday, November 28, 2016.
He stated that the Jamaica Labour Party administration has enjoyed a positive track record in local government history and the time to reconfirm this is now. The minister urged candidates to go on the road and spread the JLP's message.
And so I urge you to go out on the byways, on the highways, in every nook, on every cranny, in every corner, in every village, in every district, and every town, and continue to preach the message of prosperity, a caring and understanding, a government that is proactive, a government that cares, and a government that will deliver.
The JLP has expressed confidence for the upcoming local government elections, stating that it will be victorious as with the February 25th general elections. Meantime, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has given the local government candidates the charge to earn their votes and not take voters for granted. The Prime Minister says local government candidates are not held to any lesser standard than that of ministers. He adds that in elections, it should not be taken for granted that people will vote due to traditions only.
Elections mean more than that. People have their own dreams, desires, and aspirations. They want to see things happen in their community. People are not only going to vote because they have traditionally supported a political party. Even those who traditionally support a political party, they now reach the stage where they feel that they must hold their representatives to account, and not because we support the same party mean that I'm going to vote for you. You must do something to earn that vote.
The Prime Minister says, based on the training of candidates, he believes they are now ready to carry out the vision of the Jamaica Labour Party. Still in the regional news, 28 pregnant women in Barbados have been reported to have contracted the Zika virus.
23 pregnant women have contracted the Zika virus in Barbados. That's according to officials from the Ministry of Health, who say that that number includes 2 suspected cases of congenital syndrome, which causes severe microcephaly. The country has recorded 4 cases of the Guillain-Barré syndrome, a disorder in which the body's immune system attacks part of the peripheral nervous system. As of October 8, the island recorded 625 suspected cases and 30 confirmed cases of Zika. This has prompted authorities to issue yet another warning to residents to do all in their power to reduce the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which they say is also responsible for several recent outbreaks of dengue fever. Those outbreaks occurred in January, February, August, and September. The island now has 467 confirmed dengue cases, as well as 1,378 suspected cases. That's of October 8. This compares to 70 confirmed cases and 309 suspected cases and 1 death for the same period last year.
Finally, in the regional news, Director of Public Prosecutions in Guyana has revealed an increase in sexual crimes against children in the country. We get more in this report.
Director of Public Prosecution, Shalimar Ali Haq, pointed out a recent spike in crimes under the Sexual Offences Act against children.
You find that more persons are having, and this is particularly males, are having sexual activity with children. And the children are both females and males. But there are more females than males based on the files coming.
Ali Haq noted that while the Sexual Offences Act classifies individuals 16 and older as no longer being children, sexual activity with anyone under 16 is rape.
There's no argument with that, and there's no compromise, and there's no discussion on that. It's a no, no, no in caps. Once the person is under 16, there's no issue of consent.
That ends the regional developments. The odd story comes next.
Sometimes you gotta cruise through life. Take it like this lemur did. Cool and easy. A visitor to a Netherlands zoo captured footage of a lemur allowed to wander the facility freely, having a lounge session on a fence next to some amazed visitors. The lemur at the Artis Zoo in Amsterdam was filmed sitting in a human-like relaxing position on a wood fence at the facility on October 27th. The primate sits just inches away from the amazed zoo visitors, who doesn't seem to be worth the lemur's attention. This is one of several red-ruffed lemurs living at the Artis Zoo in Amsterdam. They are very friendly and during the day are uncaged and allowed to run free. The uploader wrote, "Take time to enjoy life." This lemur did, and I'm sure you can too.
Let's look into today's weather. Partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with isolated morning showers. Tonight, increase in cloudiness with scattered showers and possible isolated thunder showers. Maximum temperature 31.5 degrees Celsius. Winds easterly to southeasterly at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Seas moderate. Waves up to 6 feet in open waters. Tides currently high. Low at 12:15 p.m. That concludes the Luncheon edition of Triple N News for Friday, November 4th. On behalf of the entire news team, I am Kenlin Peters. Thank you for joining us.